So I would start by letting him make small decisions for you. So you need to become more familiar with that feeling inside of you. So, you know, say, what should I make us for lunch today? Right? Like start asking very tiny questions to develop the rapport. So you develop that feeling inside you of when it's him answering and when it's your mind answering. That's, you need to start learning the difference. And especially when it comes to big life decisions, that's when your mind goes berserk. So what I found is start small and ask for every single thing you're doing in the day. What should I wear today? Right? What should where should we go hiking today? Start asking for tiny little things, and then you'll start recognizing the rush that you feel when it's a correct decision, or sometimes I'll just burst out laughing when the answer comes. And that's when you realize you are communicating with something that's not you, right? That it really isn't your mind making things up, that it's you. And then when you get familiar with that feeling, then start asking these bigger questions. Because if you're too insecure about just, you know, quitting a job and saying, okay, Guruji, where should I go next? You know, he might be sitting there going, no, I wanted you to stay in that job. So you have to learn the difference between your mind and his mind. And that's where this conversation comes, where you just every day, and gratitude is such a huge part of it. Every night I say thank you to him for, you know, not having me die, for having me in this amazing, you know, situation and having me around such beautiful people. I always say thank you at the end of the day. And the trio of, he says to say Krishna Arpana, that it's all for Krishna. But I say Hari Om Tat Sat Krishna Arpana Om Shri Swami Vishwananda Samarprayami. Because I'm so aware that every day's been a gift, that, you know, I should have died many times, and there were so many life-threatening situations happened, and I'm still here. And I remember one day I was proven right. I made some statement, and then word came back that I'd been right. And I was like, see, I'm not crazy. And I was saying this to myself. And the voice in my head went, well, not today. So, you know, the more you develop that friendship with God, the funnier it gets. And generally, what I find is that the relationship with the divine is very light and very loving and very funny. And the seriousness comes from us. And the seriousness is sort of the exact opposite of spirituality, to be honest. If the lighter you can stay, and, you know, when it comes to jobs, if you scroll through a list of options and one option makes you feel exhilarated, then that's a yes, right? When I talked about the difference between if an idea makes you feel very low energy and depressed, even if the money's good, then that's still a no. You know, maybe it's a toxic work environment. Maybe the people around you will just depress you like crazy. So you have to be very protective of your soul. You know, don't be around negative, toxic people just because the money's good, right? You need to do things that exhilarate you. You know, and just like a child, you'll see a child sitting, you know, finger painting for hours, just blissed out, lost in bliss. And you deserve to be in that state as an adult. So, and that's where, you know, you need to start the conversation and say, Guruji, show me the next step, right? Just keep putting it out there, show me the next step. And another thing that works is already showing gratitude. saying, thank you for showing us the solution, right? Because then the universe goes, oh, we better come up with a solution. They're already grateful for it. And that's my favorite one. It's not, begging for a solution. It's saying thank you for the solution, and then it arrives. But you're right. Like when I was working in the greenhouses, as a single mom, they were giving me more and more heavy labor. I was making topiaries, but I was also having to carry the huge metal frames and the bales of moss, and I was starting to get hurt. And I asked for a raise, and they refused. And that's when it just pushed me. I thought, I have to leave. And when I left, they had to hire 3 people to do what I'd been doing. But if I hadn't quit, I wouldn't have gotten the writing job. Right? So, but the greenhouse had been a great sanctuary first. Like it helped me get our life back together. It was a lovely setting. So it was good for the time, but then it turned negative when it was time for me to move on. So that, that might be what's going on with you, is it was a good solution first. And now if it's turning negative, it's your sign to move on, that there's something better waiting for you. So just the 2 of you relax and have fun and make each other laugh. And every night, thank Guruji for the solutions. Yes. And then the solution will come. And that's where you're being taught to trust. Right? Yes. We all get pushed to the limit when we're learning to trust. Because now I do without thinking of it. I just know that everything will work out. But I remember those first steps of just shaking and saying I trusted and shaking and being scared. But it's trust. Yeah, but it's a skill you develop. The more you do it, the easier it comes. So, but you have to start those first steps of trust. I know that this will work out. Once it happened to me, I was driving and I got stuck in a traffic jam and the car was almost on empty. And I just trusted that I would make it to the next gas station. I ended up being stuck on the freeway for an hour with an empty tank. And the car kept driving. And so actually there's the phrase for complete surrender is called Sharanagati. And I had a quote here of Guruji. The more importance you give to external reality, the more you'll be ruled by limitations. But the more importance you give to the inside, the more humble you will become. Then the love for God will awaken inside you and you'll be able to surrender more and more to Him. So it says the more importance you give the external reality, the more you will be ruled by limitations. So that's where you're stuck right now, is you're thinking that that situation has control of you. And it says to merge with God means that He reveals Himself fully inside of you. It's the analogy of the drunk chauffeur. When you put him aside and drive the car, in the same way, when you put your identity aside, then the Lord takes control of your vehicle. So your identity becomes only Him. That's from Guruji in the Bhagavatam. So ditching the ego, ditching the identity, and acknowledging that Guruji is experiencing a life through you. So, just saying to him, okay, what do you want to do? Here's the body, what do you want to do with it? Right? And it might be completely different from what you thought. It might be like you're going down the road this way and it might be way over here. Right? But take that route. It's like me becoming a house cleaner and getting a job as a biographer. So you have to trust, no matter how wacky the solution is that's presented to you. You know, you're an organic farmer, you might be told to go drive a garbage truck, and that might make you meet somebody who's actually looking for someone with your skills, right? So we never know why we're put in different places. But like I said, always enthusiastically expect the best. So you have to get rid of the worry, the emotion, just have fun, play, enjoy being alive, and something will drop in on you. Jay Gurday.
Jay Gurday, I would have a question if possible.
Yes.
I don't know if it's a question about surrendering, but at the end of the day, we give Guruji all our punya, we say Krishna Arpan, and we have our devotee mantra, and at the end of the day, I give him also all my actions, my words, my thoughts, etc. And this week, I think Guruji said recently in a satsang that when we give Krishna our problem and ask for help, that he will help, but that he will give us 10 times more problems. And this confused me. And I don't understand it. Can you say something about it?
So what he's saying is, you watch your words. If you're grateful, he gives you 10 times more things to be grateful for. If you give him a problem, he gives you 10 times. So he magnifies what you are focusing on. So if you focus on the problem, he'll go, oh, she loves problems, I'll give her more. Okay. Whereas if, oh, she loves being grateful, I'll give her more to be grateful for.
Okay.
So it is it's a very subtle.
Maybe a little bit scary.
I know. Everyone stop praying. Yeah, so it's your wording, and to not focus on the negative, focus on the positive.
Okay, but I can still continue to give him all actions, all words at the end of the day.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's lovely.
Okay.
Yeah. Phew, yes. Yeah, sometimes he'll say things that everyone just jumps, like, oh no. But and it is tricky when English is a second language, because you're wondering what he's really saying.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Jay Gurudev.
Jay Gurudev.
I have a question. How do we surrender our kids to him? What I mean is, how do I know when to take action or when to step back and just let them go through some experiences, because they have to learn something from this?
Well, you know what my experience was, when you realize you are just a caretaker, and if they, you know, when my son would ask me for advice, we would talk, but if he didn't ask for advice, I learned I couldn't offer any, because it would just make him angrier. So yeah, there's, unless they come to you, you pretty much have to just be quiet. And it's a very hard thing to do, because you can just see what's coming down the road. And you're like, oh no. But we all went through our calamities too. And there's something about experience that drills the lesson into your head in a way that mom talking doesn't. So all you can do is be that loving, soft blanket that they land on when they come home all battered and bruised. Because, and we also don't know their karma, right? We also don't know what experiences they have to go through as a result of past lives. And that's where your love is the only thing that can help them. Like, you know, my son, he was on a sleepover when he was 14, and the guys started wrestling, and he fell on a glass and it buried it in his face, and it tore open his whole face. And there's nothing I could have done to stop that. You know, telling him not to wrestle, telling, you know, these boys not to horse around so violently, nothing could stop what happened. And I have no idea what the karma was from that. Maybe he injured someone that way in a past life, so he had to experience that injury. But he was meditating. He had been meditating since he was young. And so that combined with my meditation, like when I got to the hospital, I wasn't hysterical. I just, you know, held his foot because that's all I could see. They had him completely draped, trying to put his face back together. And the surgeon said, I can't believe I'm not picking your eyeball out, because the scar went to here and then to there. So it completely missed his eye. And I think his meditation and his constant conversations with God are what made it an event and not a tragedy. And I've seen that over and over again, that your spiritual practice is what keeps these events from becoming tragedies. Like, we do have to pay off karma. We have to go through these experiences, but the fine line is, where are you focused? And if you're focused on God, you will move through your karma. And like my son now, you can't even see that, believe it or not, you can't see that massive scar unless he's in a certain light in the sunlight. So 70 stitches and it's disappeared. It's completely healed. Whereas I think if it had been another kid who was just self-centered, never thinking about God, I think he would have had that horrific, defaced form for the rest of his life. So you decide whether these events become tragedies or not. You know, once I was, when we were driving back from a film, and one of the vehicles that we had been in sounded really weird, and one of the drivers was told to drive it back. And she came to me and she said, something's wrong. And I said, I think you need to complain, because, and she was meditating, both of us were. And the drive captain wouldn't listen to her, said, you know, you have to drive it back. So we were all on the highway, and all of a sudden the whole back end blew on this vehicle, and the tire shot off, and it hit two motorcyclists, who, these kids who were, you know, doing 100 kilometers next to us. This tire hit them. So they wiped out on the highway, and we all stopped and, you know, ran over and called the police. And miraculously, neither of those kids was hurt. And the police said to them, you got away with a warning, because they said, we should have been picking pieces of you up all down the highway. But because these kids were in flip-flops, they didn't have helmets, they had no motorcycle gear on, they were just in shorts and t-shirts. And he said, this should have killed you. And they said, you just got a warning here. And the driver was a mess, and I sort of got her off to the side, and we were talking, and I said, but don't you see, because of your practice, it was an event, it wasn't a tragedy, right? If she hadn't been focused on God, those kids probably would have died. She probably would have, you know, gone to court. The whole company probably would have been sued for that vehicle. So your state of being as you move through this world decides whether events become disasters or not. Do they ever sit with you to meditate, or do they attend darshan?
No, they don't want. My daughter is 19, my son is 14. And
Well, they're immortal and they know everything.
Yes.
do, do you do Atma Kriya?
Yes, I do Atma Kriya.
So that affects a 1 kilometer radius, right?
Yes.
So you are putting a shield around them by your practice, right?
Okay.
So that's the best thing you can do, is you have put an energy field on them.
Okay.
And, it's like my son, when he left, this accident was going to happen no matter what. And he learned a lot from it. He was very humble, and he's not disfigured at all. So you're protecting them with your practice more than you would as a mother.
Ah, yeah, that makes sense. That's
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
Oh, thank you. I need it.
So is everybody good? Should we maybe wrap up? And just, if any of you have something you want to talk to me privately about, please message me. Okay, I'm always available, happy to chat. And I know sometimes things might pop into your head after we finish. So I'd love to hear from you. And we post these on my YouTube channel, so you can always listen to these afterwards. Okay, we'll close with 3 ohms. Big breath. Om. 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Yay! Jai Gurudev! Great seeing you all.
Om Namo Narayanaya. 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 Om Namo Narayanaya.